Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Who Dat Say podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and we have arrived at week 6 of the NFL season as the New Orleans Saints will host the New England Patriots this Sunday, October the 12th in the Caesars Superdome, 12 noon. This game will be on CBS locally. The Saints will look to extend their winning ways as they have come off of a victory against the New York Giants last week. They are currently 1-4 on the season, whereas the New England Patriots are 3-2. Both teams entered this season with pretty similar circumstances. Neither team won over 5 games last year. Basically, both teams sucked. And this season, both teams enter with 2 new head coaches. The New England Patriots have Mike Vrabel as their head coach, fresh off of a victory as they beat the Buffalo Bills in kind of an upset, I guess you can say. It was an upset in the matter that they won. They pretty much manhandled the Buffalo Bills in that game. And, of course, the New Orleans Saints have Kellen Moore, who is coming off his first victory as the Saints head coach. They prepare to showdown with one another. Both teams have pretty young quarterbacks. Drake May for the Patriots, and of course Spencer Rattler for our New Orleans Saints. The Saints, they of course avoided their first 0-5 start since 1996, and thank God for it. Thank God for it. They came back from an early deficit against the Giants. They were down 14-0 in that game and rallied back to come up with the victory to give Kellen Moore his first win. The Saints scored only 1 offensive touchdown last week, believe it or not. Only 1. But it was a big one for all of us who have been crying, where's the big plays? Where's the deep shots down the field? What's going on with this offense? Well, that 1 offensive touchdown last week came on a 87-yard bomb to Rashid Shaheed to give the Saints pretty much was the death knell for the Giants. From that moment on, it was a steamroll, mainly from the defense. To be 100% honest with you, the defense did the heavy lifting last week, forcing not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4, but 5 turnovers last week, 2 interceptions and 4 fumbles. One of those fumbles turned into a 86-yard return, scoop and score. It was a special day for the Saints defense, not to mention second-year cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry, who has been the subject of a lot of vitriol over the past month or so since the season started, being labeled bust, being labeled trash, just a burn victim, everything under the sun over the last few weeks. And he bounced back last week. Now, it wasn't against a top-tier receiver? No, but he did what he had to do. He did enough to become the NFC Defensive Player of the Week in the NFL, getting that award. Kudos to him, man. He canceled the noise, stayed focused, and went out last week and got 2 interceptions on a rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart. And, look, you can say what you want. Oh, that was the Giants. Well, if you watch Thursday Night Football, and you witness what the Giants did to the Philadelphia Eagles coming off of that embarrassing loss to the Saints, that's a good team. And the Saints did what they did to them. And you gotta kind of add just put a little hot sauce on the win, let's put a little respect on that win. That was a good win for the New Orleans Saints. Now, where the problem comes in is what I said earlier. Saints only scored 1 offensive touchdown. And when you go up against quality teams in this league, your offense got got to do better, just to put it plainly. And especially when you have an offensive minded head coach like Kellen Moore, it's time to open up the playbook and get some of your playmakers involved. Now, it's good to have Taysom Hill back. He adds a different dynamic to this team that's desperately needed. So we're happy to see that. And you can see the difference in the offense when he was out there last week. Not being, I'm not going to say 100%. I don't know if he was 100% or not, but he still has to get back in football shape. I could tell he wasn't in 100% football shape, and because some of those runs that he attempted, he didn't have that same burst. Now, I know a lot of that is probably mental. He's skeptical about the need, testing to make sure that he's up to snuff, if you will. And so I put a little asterisk by last week's game, but his mere presence alone was enough to make this offense look better. It just looked better. It looked like they were on the right track. As much as I'm giving the defense their flowers for last week, and I'm not taking it away from them, great job on the defense. The defense, do I have enough confidence in this defense that they can perform like that week in, week out? Not yet. They haven't shown me they can consistently play at that level every single week and against every single team that runs up against them. So the offense really got to get their act together and start moving the ball. Well, I ain't gonna say moving the ball because they are moving the ball, but they have to finish off drives getting 6 as opposed to 3 or nothing in some cases. So we have to get better at finishing off drives and putting pressure on the opposing team. Now, in regards to the offense, the biggest question mark about that offense, aside from the play calling, is that offensive line. That offensive line has been, I don't know how to describe it without being profane, to really go hard on them, because it is embarrassing to see that offensive line play every week. You got offensive linemen who are blocking their own players, not blocking at all on some sense. It just being bullied off the line is not good. It is not good when the quarterback gets the ball and immediately he has to scramble. The running back gets the ball and he's immediately met in the backfield by a defender. You can't get anything going. And that's why it's hard to really put all the blame on Kellen Moore. Maybe he is calling some good plays, but it doesn't have time to develop. It doesn't have time to get it going, to get so Spencer Rattler can see down the field. And for everybody who rags on Spencer Rattler, oh, he doesn't take shots down the field. Well, he can't. He don't have time. The plays don't have time to develop. The offensive line has been playing horrible. Now, I know we have injuries on that offensive line, but aside from the injuries, the players who aren't hurt, they're playing poorly. Let's just be real. And it's an age-old truth in the NFL. I don't care what era of football you grew up watching, have went back and watch now, whether it's NFL, college, high school, Pee Wee leagues, whatever, Pop Warner, games are won and lost in the trenches. If you don't have an offensive line, you're in trouble. If you don't have a defensive line, you're in trouble. That goes for every team in this league. Just look across the league. All the successful teams, they have good offensive lines. They may not have all of the great skill players, all pro receivers and big body running backs and all this here, but they're successful because that offensive line is able to control that offensive line, open up holes on that line, give your quarterback time in the pocket to deliver a strike down the field. That's where games are won and lost. Right there. Ask Tom Brady. Ask Peyton Manning. Ask Drew Brees. If you don't have an O-line, it's pointless. It's pointless. But I say all that to say this: even though the offensive line been playing bad, and last week they weren't the greatest, but they were better last week. Spencer Rattler had time in the pocket. He avoided some sacks. He avoided turnovers, of course. He had a little time in that pocket last week, and that's a great offensive line that the not offensive line, defensive line that the Giants have. Giants have a really good defensive line up front. I, especially after watching that Thursday night game, and the Philadelphia Eagles have a great offensive line. Maybe not great, but they're definitely better than the New Orleans Saints offensive line. And they got bullied. They got pushed all over the field. Jalen Hurts couldn't get anything going. Saquon Barkley couldn't get anything going. That Giants D-line really disrupted the flow of that game. And this is the same D-line that the New Orleans Saints faced just a few days earlier. And they did a decent job. They actually did a decent job. Could they have been better? Of course. But they did much better than the Philadelphia Eagles, I tell you that much. But that was last week's game, last week's opponent. Let's move on to the New England Patriots. The Patriots are coming into this game, as I've said before. They're 3-2, looking pretty good. You know, they don't look great, but they look good. They look better than they did last year. I'll give them that much. But they don't have a run game. Their run game is very porous at this point. Hopefully it'll stay that way. Right now, they enter this game ranked 27th in the league rushing the ball. They average 95.2 yards per game. No back, not one running back on the New England Patriots roster has gained more than 54 yards in any of their previously 5 games. That's unbelievable to me. Now, I'm saying that like the Saints are just running the air out the ball. They're not as good as I thought they would be running the ball, but they're better than the New England Patriots at this point. But that's something that the New Orleans Saints can definitely take advantage of as far as their defense is concerned. Not to say that they don't have to worry about the run game, but I don't see that as being a threat at this point in time. Granted, they're doing this and still winning. You know, they're above 500 at this point, so they're doing this and still winning. Why are they doing this and still winning? Well, Drake May is playing fairly well over there in New England, going to his top target, Mr. Stephon Diggs, that we know pretty well here in the NO. No, he didn't play for us, but we have to go all the way back, and I know y'all don't want to hear it because I don't either. But it was Stephon Diggs who caught that pass in that playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings in the final seconds in the, what they call that, the Minnesota Miracle. I hate Stephon Diggs. Oh man, I hate that game. But anyways, it was him, and here he comes yet again, and that combo is looking pretty impressive over there in New England. But the Saints were busy this week in their front office. We made a lot of roster moves this past week. One in particular, the Saints signed cornerback Michael Davis to the team. Michael Davis, he's 6'2", 296 pounds. He previously was with the Washington Commanders, but back in 2017, he was drafted by the Los Angeles Chargers out of BYU. And who drafted him? None other than Brandon Staley when he was over there. And so they have a relationship, and I guess this is a good fit. I don't know particularly. We'll see how this all works out. But throughout his career thus far, he has 337 tackles, 265 of those are solos, 8 interceptions, and 1 he brought back for a touchdown. He has 70 pass breakups, 1 sack, 8 stops for a loss, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 26 special team stops. And so he's a very active player. I give him that much. But last year he appeared in 15 games, with 2 of those 15 being starts in Washington, where he recorded 10 tackles, 7-foot solos, 1 pass breakup, 4 coverage tackles. That was pretty much it that he did last season. Bringing him in is good for depth purposes. I give him that much. And to be 100% honest with you, the Saints secondary has been struggling a tad. Yeah, Kool-Aid had a coming out party last week, but, the jury's still out. The jury's still out. And so it's good to have some depth in regards of a fallback plan, I guess you could say. In order to make this move to sign Michael Davis, the Saints waive running back Veldis Jones Jr. Veldis Jones Jr., he mainly was on kickoff returns, and he made that one big mistake. Well, not one. I think he did it twice, actually. I know a couple of times in Seattle, but last week was like the nail in the coffin. He fielded a kickoff in the end zone and he went back in the end zone. Had he nailed it into play, and I hate these kickoff rules. It's so stupid. It makes no sense. Being as though he went back in the end zone and fielded the kick, the Saints had to start at the 20 as opposed to the 35, and that's big. That's 15 yards, man. And so that was a big, big mistake he made, and he did it a couple of times in Seattle. And so he hasn't been living up to snuff, so to speak. Now, with that being said, I mean, he's what, the 4th string running back on this team? It's not like he's going it's a big blow to the system, but there's always a chance he can be re-signed to the practice squad, which I imagine he will be, because he is valuable. He looked good in the preseason. He's really fast. He's a fast running back. I can see value there, but nothing immediate. The Saints also made an addition when they signed Ronnie Brown, wide receiver, and they re-signed their tight end, Malike Madvado. I never can get his name right, but they signed him to the practice squad. Ronnie Bell is 6 feet, 190 pounds. I don't know why we keep getting these small receivers, but it is what it is. He was selected by the San Francisco 49ers in the 7th round of the 2023 draft out of Michigan. He played in 26 games for the 49ers. He caught 8 passes for 90 yards, with 3 of them for touchdowns. On special teams, he returned 10 punts for 70 yards, 2 kickoffs for 23 yards, and recorded 3 coverage tackles. In 5 seasons at Michigan, Bell played in 47 games. He had 31 starts. He registered 145 receptions for 2,269 yards and 9 touchdowns for the Wolverines. It sounds to me he's going to be a special teams player. He's gonna come in and fill that Veldis Jones role on special teams, which is fine. So at least they're not making moves and figuring it out. It looks like they got an actual plan to bring in players to actually improve the team and going forward. So I'm all for that. Good moves there. The one thing that kind of bothered me this week is a rumor, but the mere fact that it's out there is bothering me. The fact that I think it was Pittsburgh that called Mickey Loomis inquiring about Rashid Shaheed. That is the biggest mistake on God's green earth. If they're entertaining that, it don't seem like they are. Shaheed is still with the team, so obviously, either Mickey Loomis told him flat out no, or the deal that they were prepared to present to the Saints wasn't good enough in Mickey Loomis' eyes. Either way it goes, I'm glad that he's still here. I would keep Shaheed at all costs. Now, I know this is going to come off bad. I know this is going to be controversial. But, hey, I got to speak my truth. Had they called about Chris Olave, I would have entertained that call. And I like Chris Olave. That's the crazy part. I actually like Chris Olave. But he holds more value in my mind, for one thing. And secondly, I don't think Chris Olave is all 100% there. Those concussions, I think, really played a toll or took a toll on that young man. And he just isn't 100% there. He can't focus. That's why he had those drops, because he's constantly looking for that hit because he's scared. The next big hit could be it for him. And so his head is literally on a swivel. He cannot concentrate on catching the ball. That's those drops. You look at those drops, it was a concentration issue when it came to him. But I think value-wise, to get the most capital out of, I think you get more capital out of Chris Olave than you would Rashid Shaheed. But that's just my humble opinion. Love to keep them both. Don't want to see him go. I'm not lobbying for Chris Olave to be traded. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That's all. I'm just putting that out there. Let's go over matchups for this week's game versus the New England Patriots. Let's start off with the defense. Saints defense versus the New England Patriots offense. As I mentioned earlier, as you've seen last week, the New Orleans Saints defense played their best game of the year, arguably last week against the Giants. They forced 5 turnovers. Brandon Staley's group looked like world beaters out there. They, it looked like a team possessed that defense, like a championship caliber defense. Let's be real with it. Now you have New England, who is led by quarterback Jake May, coming off their victory against Buffalo. Him targeting his wide receivers, Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte. They were able to spread the ball all around the field with ease against the Buffalo Bills. The Saints safety, they played a terrific game against the Giants last week and need to continue that process this week. They need to limit the passing attack of the Patriots. Jordan Howden and Jonas Sanker have really stepped it up, coming in, replacing Justin Reed and Julian Blackmon, who went down to injuries this season. We haven't missed a beat as far as safety play. We've kind of struggled with the cornerbacks, but the safeties have really stepped it up. These guys, a lot is going to be on their shoulders this week, along with the offensive line of the Patriots with a first-round draft pick in this year's NFL draft, Will Campbell, who we all know and love here down in New Orleans, down here in Louisiana, period. Will Campbell being straight up the best offensive lineman in the draft coming out of LSU. He went to New England, and he is anchoring that offensive line over there in New England. Campbell, he has played impressively at left tackle over there, and will be an interesting matchup to watch throughout the duration of this game this Sunday with the Saints pass rush. We'll see if Chase Young makes an appearance. We see that he did return to practice this week, so fingers crossed there, but we'll touch in on that when we go over the injury report. So we'll see how that all goes. Whether it's Chase Young or Carl Granderson or Cam Jordan, we'll see how the defensive line attacks this offensive line of the New England Patriots this week in this game. The Patriots tight end Hunter Henry, he should be a key factor in this game, at least for New England. He should be a big factor. New Orleans has seemed to struggle, not only this season but for a couple of years when it comes to defending tight ends, and another one of Drake May's targets should be no exception. He's gonna test it. They're gonna test it, and they're gonna test Kool-Aid for some strange reason. Kool-Aid constantly get tested. That's what happened last week. That's the tape. They test Kool-Aid. And that's why Kool-Aid had to step it up. Finally, he did last week. Let's see if he can keep it up this week. But he won't be defending the tight end. This is where the heavy lifting of the safeties come into play. Jordan Howden and Jonas Sanker. Let's see if they can corral Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is a really good tight end. Even our linebackers, there are no exceptions here. You know, they have to drop back in coverage at times too. It's a liability though, because we don't have any really good cover corners. Not corners. I'm sorry. Linebackers. And so it's gonna be a task, because Hunter Henry is one of those tight ends. He can stretch the field. He has the ability to stretch the field, and he can secure the ball, tough catches, difficult catches. He possessed that gene, man. He's one of them. He's one of them. He's in that category of one of the best tight ends currently playing in the NFL. Now, both teams should head into this matchup with the belief that they can outcome victory or overcome victory, or however you want to word it. This game should be an exciting one to watch. At least this matchup should be an exciting one to watch. We'll see if this defense can roll over what they had last week. Whatever they ate for dinner last Saturday, eat it again this Saturday. And whatever they drunk last Sunday morning, drink it again this Sunday morning on defense, and bottle it up and take it with us for the remainder. But yeah, man, this is going to be tougher than it was for the Giants. Don't get it twisted. Don't look at the New England Patriots from last season and think, oh, okay, well, we've gotten better. No, they have gotten better. They have clearly gotten better. The Saints are better. The Saints could be better, and on paper, the Saints should be better than what they are right now. But it's a slow progression for the Saints, as per the New England Patriots. Let's go over the season leaders of each team here, starting with the passing yardage for the New Orleans Saints. Spencer Rattler, he is 119 of 177 pass attempts, 990 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. For the New England Patriots, you have Drake May. He is 113 for 153 pass attempts, 1,261 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That is MVP quality numbers. If we're going to stop the voting after week 5, that is picture perfect. That's what you want your quarterback to have. Those type of numbers, and Spencer Rattler has great numbers too, but these numbers are phenomenal. Those are phenomenal. He only has 40 incompletions out of 153 passes and only 2 interceptions. That is phenomenal. That's phenomenal. It's scary, very scary. But anywho, moving on to rushing leaders for the New Orleans Saints. Of course, it's Alvin Kamara with 73 carries for 283 yards and only 1 touchdown so far this season. For the New England Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, he has 38 carries for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns this season. Like I said, New England don't run the ball. I don't know. It's weird that Mike Vrabel's team that doesn't run the ball, but they haven't ran the ball. But don't drink the Kool-Aid. No pun intended. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. They will test the Saints this Sunday. Trust me. Receiving leaders for the Saints is Rashid Shaheed with 22 catches for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the New England Patriots, Stephon Diggs, 29 catches for 359 yards. No touchdowns this season so far, which is a shocker. sack leaders for the New England Patriots, Howard Landry III, can't get it out, linebacker. He has 3.5 sacks this season. The New Orleans Saints sack leader is still Carl Granderson with 4.5 sacks this season. Tackle leader Demario Davis, the ageless one, he has 48 tackles this season, leading the team. And for the New England Patriots, Robert Spillane with 40 tackles this season. NFL rankings so far through 5 weeks of the year. We start with total offense. Saints are ranked 24th in total offense. The New England Patriots are ranked 16th in total offense. Passing, Saints are 25th in the league. The Patriots are 8th in the league. Rushing, Saints are 15th. Patriots 27th. Defense, Saints are 17th. The Patriots are 18th. And in turnover ratio, Saints are a +5. And the New England Patriots are a -1. Let's turn over to our injury report for this week. Starting with the New Orleans Saints, questionable for Sunday's matchup. And I think all of these players are questionable. I don't think we have anybody ruled out, at least at the time of this recording. Questionable for Sunday's matchup. Justin Reed, safety with a concussion. Juwan Johnson is questionable with that ankle. A name that popped up earlier this week that sent shivers down the spines of the Who Dat Nation. Alvin Kamara, ankle, he is questionable. And with that being said, I'm not gonna say that that's fine, because we still have Kendre Miller, who has been running the ball well. You still have Devin Neal that we haven't seen this season, other than week 1. We haven't seen Devin Neal's, but I wouldn't rush him. I wouldn't rush Alvin Kamara if he's injured, if he's not 100%. You know what I'm saying? So he has been ruled questionable nonetheless. Also, Isaac Yeldon, he is questionable with the hamstring. He can stay questionable in my eye. Well, I'm gonna give him a chance because he was in that same doghouse as Kool-Aid with me, and so I'm gonna give him another opportunity. But Chase Young, as I mentioned earlier, had returned to practice. He's been limited all week. There's been no official designation for him, but I don't know if he's gonna play. I doubt it. I doubt if he plays this Sunday, but if he does, good. But it's good to see him back out there practicing with the team. We haven't even gotten that in 4 weeks, or 5 weeks of the season. So it's good to see him back out there. He's healthy enough to be with the team. For the New England Patriots, they have a couple of players ruled out for Sunday's matchup against the Saints. Their linebacker, Anthony Jenkins, he is out with an ankle. Also out, safety Jalen Hawkins, he's out with a hamstring. Questionable, Christian Gonzalez, their cornerback, with a hamstring injury. Linebacker Monte Mupal, questionable with a neck injury. And Kevon White, their defensive end, questionable with an elbow injury. ESPN, they give the New England Patriots a 61% chance of winning this game this Sunday, and I somewhat understand, but at the same time, going numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. This team is pretty even, it kind of balances itself out, even in categories where the New England Patriots are better than the Saints. The Saints are better in another category to kind of balance it out, so it's going to be, I really don't have a prediction of who will win. I think this is a pick'em game, to be 100% honest with you. But if the New Orleans Saints want to continue their winning ways, if they want to come out victorious in this game, the keys to a victory would be make Drake May one-dimensional, make him uncomfortable. The run game, as much as they've struggled with the run, as far as the New England Patriots are concerned, New England's going to have to run that ball down your throat. Take the pass away. They're going to want to test that secondary. Going off of the history of the previous 5 teams that the Saints have played, they don't care about the run. They care about that secondary. They see a weakness. They see something there, and they've been exploiting it for the most part. The Giants tried, and for a minute it was working, but it got too much. And they didn't have any real weapons out there to test it. This week is different. They have the weapons to test it. And so you're going to have to take that away. But find a way to take that away from the New England Patriots. Make them have to be honest and run the ball. It's something that they have not been successful doing so far this season. And so it's a tall task for this defense. Offensively, on the other side of the ball, the Saints have to do the complete opposite. They have to run the ball, control this offense, control the tempo of the game, and when the shot is there, take the shot. Take the shot. You have Taysom Hill. Hopefully he's getting back into the groove of things, and he'll get a little better. Start using him more, especially with a banged-up Alvin Kamara. Use him more in the run, and that's going to open up the floodgates for a New Orleans Saints pass attack. So I think the Saints can win. Will they win? I'm not prepared to do it. I'm just not prepared to pull the trigger on that question. I think it's going to be a good game. I will say that, and that's no lie. I think this is going to be a really good game, going to be tight, and it's going to come down to the end. I'm hoping and praying the Saints win, but I'm just not going to. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to set myself up like that. But that's my opinion of this game this week, Sunday, in the Caesars Superdome. The New Orleans Saints will host the New England Patriots, 12 noon on CBS. Who do you have winning? Do you think the Saints will move up to 2-4 this season by defeating the Patriots, or do you think the Saints will get thrown back into quote-unquote reality and fall to the New England Patriots? I want to know your opinions of this upcoming game. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are listening to the Who That Say podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this preview of the Week 6 matchup between our New Orleans Saints and their New England Patriots. Don't forget, I'll be back after the game to give my recap and reaction to a Saints victory. We'll see. Until then, I'm going to be screaming, "Who dat?"